the government, the largest multi-year settlement for London in over a decade, almost doubling of annual capital funding for a TfL, and the government giving the green light to the DLR extension to Thamesmead, helping to create 10,000 new jobs. And I was able to announce, because of our fantastic record, just over 10 days ago, the weekend hopper coming this summer holidays, or as I like to call it the Whopper. I'm sure when he takes advantage of the Whopper during the 6 weeks summer holidays, he'll also be saying that's down to Calamity Khan.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it was the creation of the earth, wasn't it?
Very good. Lovely commentary. Let's get on with the business. Assembly Member Ahmad.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Mr Mayor. Back to policing. Mr Mayor, you and I have had this conversation so many times in this chamber, and any second now the Conservative group will start shouting and chanting as they always do. But the facts are this. They had nothing to say when their government effectively defunded the Met by £1.2 billion in 14 years and 10 years of your tenure. This forced the Met to make £850 million worth of savings between 2010 and 2018. Mr Mayor, since you were elected, you've more than doubled funding from City Hall to make up this shortfall. If the Conservatives support police as much as they claim, don't you think they should be thanking you for stepping up when their government so shockingly let Londoners down?
I mean, the hypocrisy from the Conservatives is remarkable. When Boris Johnson was mayor, he closed down 341 police stations and police buildings. Did you hear a word from the Conservatives during that period? He closed down 83 front counters. These guys are disciples of Boris Johnson, let alone protégés. The previous government, Messrs Cameron Clegg, remember him, Nick Clegg? Cameron Clegg, Cameron May, Johnson, Truss, Sunak. I may have missed one out. They cut 1.2 billion pounds from the Met Police budget, core funding. They never complained then. Notwithstanding those cuts, we've invested from City Hall, because I believe in investing in our police service. I believe in giving the police service the tools they deserve. I believe in having the right number of police officers, and that's led to the reduction in crimes. We're talking about still imperfect. There's still too much crime, particularly high volume crime. We've got to make more progress. But I'll always be, unlike these guys, pro-police.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Assembly Member Georgiou, please.
Good morning, Mr Mayor. I missed you over this prolonged break. It's good to see you again. Mr Mayor, under your failed decade as Police and Crime Commissioner of our great city, shoplifting has gone up by 94%. Theft from person has gone up by 146%. Public order offences have gone up by 24%. Robbery has gone up by 43%. Do you think this explains why the boss of M&S said that you do not have a grip on policing and are not prioritising policing?
But Chair, can I park for a second the knockabout on stats, because you raised a very important point about shoplifting. It is a serious issue. So I'll come back. I can have the knockabout stuff in a little while if he wants to. It is serious. I've spoken to retail workers who've been assaulted. Shopkeepers who have stopped reporting it now because they think, what's the point in reporting it? And it affects the relationship we have with law and order and a sense of unfairness, and we've got to get a grip on the issue of shoplifting. Other things as well, personal theft, personal robbery is also an issue. We can come to that as well as he wants. And so I want to address this in the way it deserves, which is it is a problem. We're addressing this. Over the last year, we've changed, the police have changed how they respond to this, which has led to some improvements, not enough. We need to make more improvements here as well. Can I give some examples of the stuff we need to improve on? The police must respond to every complaint made of shoplifting. In the past, they weren't, and they've accepted that. They're going to do that. And it was a chicken and egg situation. The shops weren't reporting it because the police weren't responding. The police weren't, and so it's a big problem for everyone, and crime carries on. We had examples. I've been to an operation where individually shoplifter steals only a small amount from a shop, but cumulatively over a few days, that's like thousands of pounds. So you've got to take action even on a small amount. Shop workers have been assaulted and traumatised, affects their family, affects themselves. We think that technology can help us here in terms of swift reporting of crimes virtually from a shop, but also when there's CCTV, the success rate of a charge and conviction is massive. So we're trying to encourage shops to invest if they can and share the CCTV with the police if they can as well.
Mr. Mayor, I understand your approach, and we won't go for the knockabout, and we will take it seriously because you've responded in an appropriate way. Look, everything you've just said is fine for the big boys and girls that can afford it. We have 1 million small businesses in London, which are the backbone of our economy. You get a lot of money for them in business rates. Local authorities get a lot of money from them in business rates. And what is happening is, sadly, effectively, shoplifting and the various other offences attached to it have been decriminalised in London. So, you know, with the greatest respect, and you can respond in any way that you see fit, of course, it's all well and good saying these things now. You have been Mayor of London for 10 years. I'm not saying that other cities are not immune to these sorts of occurrences, but in London it seems to be a particular problem. So rather than talking about technology and what the big operators and shops and businesses can do, can you just please respond on a way the Met can respond to support smaller businesses, of which there are 1 million in London?
Yeah. So, firstly, he's right to remind all of us this is a nationwide problem. I speak to USDOL regularly, the trade union who represents shop workers across the country, small, medium and large. And this is an issue across the country. The disturbances we saw in Birmingham were the same week as we saw issues in Clapham. So it's a nationwide issue. So the good news is, because of our investment in policing and because of the Commissioner's focus on neighbourhood policing, having the conversation with the one-person shopkeeper that would happen before, giving good crime advice, giving good preventative advice. Actually, a lot of those corner shops, retail high street shops, do have the technology. They do invest in CCTV. They do have panic buttons, and they do know they do now know the neighbourhood police officer on first name terms. They also, a lot of them have great business improvement districts that work.
But I'm
with
sorry
the police
to interrupt
as well.
you, Mr. Mayor. That doesn't necessarily work. You know, if you look at the area I represent, Cockfosters, you know, very tidy high street, but we've only got about 3-4 ward officers, and there's a constant turnaround. So the problem is, and they're on shift patterns, so you can't always reach out to a local officer to have those conversations. So look, I'll leave it there, but the one thing that I would say, and perhaps you can put it in writing, is a way forward that you could see possibly for a change in legislation to crack down on shoplifting and possible future actions and powers the government can give you and the Met to tackle this more appropriately.
Can I answer this two ways? Firstly, the government's listened to some of our requests in terms of the threshold before the £200 summary trial issue, but also the powers that the police have to go in. Can I make an offer to him? I'm really happy for the police to listen to him in terms of his councillor experience and what shopkeepers are telling him about what more the police can do to reassure them in relation to the challenges he's raised. And I'm sure the police will be more than happy to meet with him to take on board his ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Assembly Member Lord Bailey, please.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. As always, I'll come to housing. It was confirmed last week that you failed to meet your housing target for your affordable housing programme under the 21-26 affordable housing programme, for which you were granted £4 billion by the previous government, even though the figure was seriously watered down. Do you regret this failure, and what are you going to do to improve the delivery?
I'm sorry to disappoint his excitement at the housing not being at the levels it should be, but the MHLG, the government, have agreed with Homes England and the GLA, like they did during the pandemic, the previous government, to extend the period by which the target should be met. So he'll remember the 2016 to 21 AHB target, affordable housing programme target, was extended by 2 years by the previous government. The previous Secretary of State for Communities Local Government, because of the circumstances surrounding COVID. What this government has decided to do with Homes England and GLA, because of the what we call the perfect storm of circumstances facing housing across the country, has agreed to extend the affordable housing programme target by 6 months to the end of September, to allow those schemes that are in tray but haven't started to do so. And that 6-month extension means that both Homes England and GLA will have until the end of September to work with developers, councils and others to get those starts off the ground.
Yeah, but you say that. First and foremost, I'm not excited about you failing to hit the target, because I really do want you to hit it, because there's people who need a place to live, multiple hundreds of thousands of people in this city who need a place to live. I'm not excited about it. But let's be clear, it was extended because you failed to hit it by such a wide margin. Your own government asked for 88,000 homes a year. You were nowhere close to that. Your own figure of 52,000, you missed that by a wide margin of just an unbelievably wide margin. You missed it by. So you've just talked about what everybody else is going to do to improve the situation. What are you going to do to improve the situation?
I think the member's conflating the Affordable Homes Programme with overall starts and completions. So if I do with the Affordable Homes Programme, which is what we're talking about in terms of the extension, over the last period, 24-25, there has been a 168% increase in homes started, 9,147. Social rent levels, an increase of 151%, 7,000. Council homes, an increase of 191%, 3,865. So we're seeing big increases in the Affordable Homes Programme, which is why I suspect the government has allowed Homes England outside London and the GLA inside London to have a 6-month extension. And for completions, these are Affordable Homes Programme. For the first time since the GLA was founded, for 5 years in a row, there have been more than 10,000 completions. And that's why it's really important for us to continue to work with developers, private sector,